welcome back to another flashlight review. Today we're going to be looking at the Warsun X609, and this light has been out for a little while now. I think it's been out for about a year or maybe a couple of years, but managed to get a sample sent to me by Warsun, and they do have a pro version of this one as well, but the X609 is a slightly smaller version. It comes with two 18650 cells in there, so it's a bit easier to carry around. And the X609 is marketed for camping, hiking, emergency use. I think it's probably a bit too large for EDC. And it does remind me of another flashlight I've reviewed in the past. And if you know what that is, drop a comment below. It's got a 3000 lumen main beam, rated at 3000 lumens. And there's also a 500 lumen cob beam as well at the side. Lower that down, there's like a flashy red mode as well in there. And interestingly, they've also included a power bank function. So let's have a look at what's in the box. So this was the box that came in the mail. Pretty basic. There are some details here on the back as well. Nothing important for us anyway. There is a little manual, and can see it's just very simple. Just this top section here, it really just shows you how to turn it on, tells you some quick instructions. It does come with the USB-C charging cable as well as usual, and Warsun also include this lanyard. I don't use these lanyards too often, so I just took it off, but it was initially attached. So here's the Warsun X609 compared to a few other flashlights that I have in my collection. As you can see here, next to the SK05 Pro, it's almost the same size, just a little bit longer at the top. So it's, yeah, definitely not a small flashlight. Something in terms of EDC, this would be definitely in the larger end. You know, if we have a look also at the Convoy S8, if we kind of look at them side by side, you'll notice like the thickness is really quite similar. So it's almost like carrying a couple of Convoy S8s in your pocket, similar height as well. So it's not going to be too bad if you carry it, because yeah, at least it's not going to have a large bezel diameter. But yeah, you're definitely going to feel it. It is significantly heavier as well. I mean, it weighs probably a little bit more than the SK05 Pro actually. And of course, I've got my Nightcore EDC 29 and my Wuben X4 here. All right, so here's a little close-up of the Warsun X609. And this is a strange looking flashlight. It's got a kind of futuristic styling, I guess you can call it. Plus, you know, it's got that rectangular flat style design that you're starting to see get quite popular now with a variety of different flashlight companies, you know, really because it's quite portable. You can still fit this thing into your pocket, kind of slab style, I suppose they call it. And companies can also fit in a couple of batteries in there to extend the battery life. The X609 is made of 6063 aluminium. And for this price point, you know, as you can see, the machining is fairly decent. There's no rough spots or inconsistencies, though it's definitely not as refined as some of the more expensive brands out there, but it does the job. And the anodizing feels pretty kind of smooth. Not that kind of grippy anodizing that you get on some other lights like Armitech flashlights. IP56 water resistant and also 2 meter impact resistant. And in terms of the length, it's 12.6 centimeters, 4.6 centimeters in width, and 2.7 centimeters in depth. Here's something interesting. At the bottom of the flashlight, you have one of these 1/4 inch attachments. So it's pretty much the same attachments that you use for cameras, so you can use this thing as like a fill light, though it's, yeah, the side LED is only rated at 500 lumens, so you're not going to get too much flood with it. It's still going to be fine. Got a belt clip here on the back, which feels really quite firm. Needs to be the case if you're attaching it directly onto your belt. Decent amounts of knurling here on the side of the flashlight, which really helps given that there's not much grip with the anodizing. Overall, the light feels quite ergonomic, quite easy to hold on to. You've got a single switch here on the side, so that basically turns on the main LED, and you kind of got to cycle through the others, press and hold to access the cob LED, and I'm glad that they put the cob LED on the other side. Sometimes you see companies put them on this side or via a strip, and it's kind of annoying if you've got the button here because it will shine directly into your eyes. So it's good that they've put it on the back. You've also got a couple of USB ports here. So there's a USB-C port that charges the flashlight rated at 10 watts, and the normal USB-A port, which is an output port, charges at 5 watts. You'll notice as you turn on the flashlight as well, there are these 4 blue kind of LEDs that turn on. So that just shows you the battery percentage, 25% increments. The actual bezel material is made of some sort of plastic. I'm not sure what it is. Might be ABS. But yeah, would it be nice if they used metal bezel, which is often the case with a lot of flashlights, because if you drop it, it tends to be that direction. And there's a couple of TIR lenses in here. And Warsun state that they're using 2 SST40 emitters in the head. And with these side emitters here, this it's basically a cob LED panel. You got 2. And with this side panel here, it's basically a side cob LED. You got 16 white LEDs and 9 red LEDs. So let's go through the user interface. Now it's quite simple. There's only one button on here. So when you press once, it's going to go to the high mode, press again, medium, low, and then off. Now you can also double press from off to get into a turbo mode, and then it will just step down to high, medium, low. You can also double press from off to get into a turbo mode. Okay, and then you press again and it steps down very slightly to high, medium, low, and then off. You can also turn on the light and then double press, and there's a very, very slight jump to turbo. It's barely detectable. In order to operate these cob LEDs, all you do is just press that back button once. There you go. And that's like the high mode, 500 lumens, the low mode, and then press again for this flashy red mode. And once more to turn off. Here are some ceiling bounce tests that I ran with the Warsun X609, and this is the first one on turbo. And you can see you get about half a minute of runtime on the turbo mode before that light steps down, and there's a very sharp decline. So basically just before the 4-minute mark, you can see the light is on about 20% output. I ran a second ceiling bounce test on the high mode, and it's a very similar pattern there. So about 30 to 45 seconds maybe before the light begins to step down, and before the 4-minute mark, you're on about 20% output. Similar pattern here on the medium mode, so you get about a minute of runtime on the medium before it starts stepping down, and again, by just before the 4-minute mark, you're on about 20-something%. On the low mode, it was also very similar, so you can see that same step down pattern, about a minute on the low mode before it steps down. I also ran another ceiling bounce test just on the side light mode on high, the cob LED modes, and yeah, you can see you basically get about a minute of runtime on the 100% mode before the light starts stepping down. Just after the 2-minute mark, you're on about 50% output. I also ran some tests with my Opal Lightmaster Pro, and you can see here on the turbo mode, managed to reach 207 meters of throw, which is pretty decent given how small the bezel size is on this light. And even on the high mode there, 197, like I was saying before, there's not a huge difference in output between the high and the turbo mode. It's very small. You can see also on the cob LED mode, on high, I got 24 meters. Not too bad considering that it is more of a floodlight. And CRI, as you can see, range from 59 to 66. CCT range from 4,900 all the way up to 5,700. So some considerations to keep in mind if you're thinking of getting the Warsun X609. The first consideration is that it is a little bit large and heavy for EDC. Like I mentioned, it's not too bad if you use the belt clip, but yeah, perfect to keep in the glove box or in your bag. I think that's where it'd be suited. Second consideration is the IP56 rating. So it is splash proof, but it's not going to be suitable for full submersion. So don't try to put it underwater. Third consideration is I do find the UI simple, but a bit annoying because basically to cycle through the modes, you have to wait for a bit. If you press the buttons too quick, it basically doesn't react. So yeah, and also you have to go through each mode before you find the one that you want. I also thought that the flashy red mode could be useful in emergencies, but it would have been nice to also have a constant on red mode. I like those red modes to just walk around in the dark sometimes without, disturbing my night vision. So the next consideration is the conservative step down, as you saw in all those runtime graphs. So you get about 30 seconds to a minute before that light steps down. I really think Warsun could have pushed it further given the large heat sinking material that you find on this light. I mean, the whole thing is basically made of aluminium. The final consideration is the overall construction quality. While it's great for the price, it's definitely not as refined as other flashlight brands as Wuben, Acebeam, Phoenix. So yeah, things like even the bezel, if they just use aluminium on the bezel, that would have really elevated the build quality. But I mean, I'm glad that the whole thing at least is more or less made out of aluminium. Another consideration is that I don't think the X609 is hitting that 3000 lumen output. I did a quick ceiling bounce test comparing the output of this to my Nightcore P23i. Nightcore usually bang on with their lumen outputs, and the X609 produced about 2/3 of the output. So I'd estimate this to be producing about 2000 lumens when you turn on the flashlight. Overall, the Warsun X609 is a great budget option if you're looking for an all-in-one flashlight, something that you can use to charge external devices, has got a kind of longer range beam as well as a flood beam. You can use this for close quarters if you're camping, if you're fishing. And that 4000 milliamp hour battery is also pretty impressive. It's going to last you for quite a while before you need to charge the battery. Onboard charging as well. I think this would be a great little gift for someone maybe who's just looking for a all-in-one flashlight, a great kind of budget option. I think it's quite good value for what it is. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And if you have any questions about the Warsun X609, just let me know. I'll get back to you. If you're interested in getting one, I'll also leave a link in the description. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, click the like button, share the video with a friend who might enjoy watching it. It just helps me to get my channel out to more people. And if you want to see more flashlight reviews and keep up to date with the latest news, make sure you subscribe. Warsun X609, and this is turbo. Pretty bright. There's a large hot spot in the center. Blends nicely into the spill. You do get that with these TIR lenses. Better transition between, and I mean, it does step down fairly quickly. Let's go down to also the other modes. So I'll go back to it again. So this is high, which actually is pretty similar to turbo. I mean, turbo is just marginally brighter. Can't tell a huge sort of difference. Okay, it's medium and low. And look, the low mode, that is pretty good just for, as a normal walking light. There's a bit of PWM, but I can't notice it. It's just showing up on the camera. Okay, there we go. That's pretty bright. Let's go on to the side light mode now. Let's see if this can show up on camera. Okay, it's actually not too bad. It's difficult to see, but it does actually go kind of almost to the center, maybe about 10-15 meters or so, easily to see it, right, 10-15 meters or so ahead. So that's good to know. And the low mode is not so visible on camera, but that's also fantastic as a walking light. Okay, it's a little red flashy mode here, and we'll go for a bit of a walk. Warsun X609 on turbo. Wow. It pretty much illuminates everything up into, yeah, even into my peripherals. It's due to those two TIR lenses. The light gets weaker around the edges. But as you can see in the ceiling bounce test before, and you might notice it here as well, the light pretty much immediately starts to step down. Okay, I can't see right to the end of this path, but you can see almost 3/4 of the way, which I think this would be great as like a bike light or general flashlight you carry around in your bag. I just want to see what it's going to look like after the step down. So if you use this thing kind of walking around, I think it's going to be useful to see like a real world step down beam pattern. Okay, it's still doing pretty well. I mean, it is a cold night though. How long has it been? About a minute. Yeah, that's more than enough light. Let's go to some of the other modes. So we've got like the high mode, just very similar to turbo. And you've got medium, and then low. I'll go for a walk. And this here is the high mode, the side light high mode. Like I said, it's perfect for a walking light. Again, 360-degree spill. Even that low mode on the side is sufficient. I'll go for a walk. Oops. I have to turn this one off first and then get back into it. There we go.